Hello, everyone. Well, given the overview trailer just dropped in English-speaking regions, it's now all but confirmed. Finalized that monLegendsArceus is finally seeing release on January 28th, with this and also early preview suggesting and saying that it will very much be well worth the wait. And after a quarter of a century of dominating in the scene, it's going to very much be the next evolution in Pokemon, so to speak. So, as you can imagine, there's still some skeptics in mind, and much as I have done with Let's Go, and in Sword and Shield, because that other video I did last November kind of shows some place for Brilliant Shining Pearl. Here is where I'll be addressing some of the open letter scripts in detail. Like some ones I'll be specifically addressing, but for the most part, it's going to be going over the general concerns people have. Like some of them make sense. A lot of them, however, do not. So let's get it started. To begin, I thought I would address the skepticism that seems the most sound before I transition to the kind that tends to be a more cynical in its approach. Which mean, because a fine line between that I'll be addressing. And so first is like the basic concept that it's definitely going to be the most significant shakeup the series has seen in years. We've had each game that succeed series of games build upon the ones that come before her, but nothing of this magnitude. Which does admittedly cause concerns that we will actually pull off the experiment. There's also still people that keep comparing to Monster Hunter, even though I really do not think that's the case. Speaking as someone who isn't a Monster Hunter fan in the slightest, only really played and enjoyed I definitely, as well as Rise, I definitely think that countless other games also have these elements of crafting, and as well as approaching and stuff, and also there's the whole idea of approaching in the combat where there's still some turn-based elements in there, but there's also more real-time elements in there. There's a debate about whether or not they should go all in on real-time combat or stick with a turn-based system. Personally, I am okay either way. Since there are games that still use a turn-based combat, which require you to not only think of the current turn about what kind of moves or abilities you want to use, but also one's ahead in terms of attacks and healing. Like they include Final Fantasy, Dragon Quest, and Chrono. And if you on the other camp, we have the real-time combat, which requires you to think more on your feet, given how you have your attacks, healing, and special abilities being used all at once, as your opponents. Games of this nature include the Elder Scrolls, Secret of Mana, and as well as the Witcher series. I think this one looks to be striking a nice, comfortable balance between the two of them. And I really don't have much to add to that discourse, because I'm actually baffled to why it even is there to begin with, personally. Don't want to see you all talk about Elden Ring and quote-unquote suggest they get real-time combat, fellas. Just saying. And as for the debate about just how open world it might be, well, as someone who has been very good about not taking up the leaks, and I actually went a step further than my usual not interested clicking and just went straight up to don't recommend channel, I'll be willing to play that as it comes, and if it's like I've just saw from the overview trailer, as you progress, you unlock more and more of the map as you go. I mean, there are multiple ways of approaching this concept, and I actually don't mind. I like the approach within reason about drawing the player into the world of having a submission where and some justifications actually do who make sense for the story. I mean, where with GTA often using like say an hack on the hack on the on the city, it is a way to keep parts of the map blocked off. Though 4 took an interesting approach where you could still technically go to other parts of the city, and it just got you an instant 6-star warning meter if you tried it, man. I mean, I'm not saying we'll get the kind of detail Halo Red Dead Redemption 2 with the horse shrinkage, but I am liking how subtle details, even these promos, have been reached, and also that there's been, whether people choose to acknowledge it or not, a clear amount of progress made since the initial reveal of the titles this past February. This also brings me to the more extreme side of Halo skepticism, which often brings the matter to outright cynicism, and I'm quite thankful that for the most part, a lot of people aren't really taking the bait this time around. Since I've seen some of the view counts on these videos, which I'm not going to be directly addressing, and it's frankly a pretty anemic, I would say. I mean, and when you're trying to suggest that despite the evidence otherwise, that this will quote unquote kill a $90 billion franchise when the title has regularly been in topping in pre-order charts ever since they opened up that door, you're kind of reaching. I mean, these people are actually getting less views than would say like the intro to the Peacemaker series, and yes, it's a point where I can come to say into Pokemon and Peacemaker. But that aside, it's also why even though I have mixed feelings towards the DMCA approach to other ones, in regards to these leaks and that infamous FPS vid, that is something I think they're well within their rights to do so. And personally, if I want that kind of disposition of like the cute and the dark, I got the super happy fun time with CSM HD to play instead, man. And if anything, these changes make way more logical sense than turning the series into FPS. And there's also been some debate about the visuals. Again, I made in my previous video, which I've been linking to explains how often and realism is often overvalued, given how sometimes like the PS5 Spider-Man remaster had this uncanny valley feeling, and some people accusing trying to make more like Tom Holland, but again, didn't see it that way. And also that thing with Alloy and Husband and West. Personally, as an aside, I do hope they do well in that game as a story, personally, but again, basically the too long didn't watch it was like how it really tends to just undervalue, it would overlook how important stylization is, and why it irritates me when I see like NWR TV claiming it looks ugly the while when they're clearly using that title as influence. And guys, I've seen all manner of low grade stuff, of clogging of the eShop, and sometimes even deliberately looking wonky, like that. I know what bad visuals look like, guys. You know what I think is wrong with the artwork of this game? Not a blessed thing. There's a reason why I picked that specific thumbnail with the Hisuian Zor arc, which is probably one of my favorite regional forms in regards to who how it puts spin on existing monster I love, given how Zoroark line was already my favorite one in Generation 5, and also the lighting, the environments, and even like the weather effects, hex, and even like the water physics have actually emerged quite a bit since. I mean, I'm not one of those. I want to maybe once again clear I'm not one of those people that would whinge about something as trivial as like trees or grass. I mean, yes, I mean, I live in Oregon, guys, as I see both those things on a regular basis, and I'm not one of those people that's gonna go, wow, things have certainly come a long way since the original games that came out on the Game Boy, Game Boy Color era, but those grass textures were the worst. There's also the whole one infamous article on Forbes of several that I'm not going to be directly addressing the author by name. I'm going to be referring to him for sake of arguments like, say, J. Jonah Jameson to protect them. And basically it's been torn apart pretty vigorously. He has not been constructive argument in the slightest. And I too long didn't read response to it can be summarized as this. You know, Forbes, there is a fine line between being a skeptic and being a cynic. Consider it crossed. I mean, some people suggest they could just have, like, I don't know, Namco Bandai take over the series like they did with Pokken. I have the deluxe version, I have visual aid as well as with new Pokemon Snap, but here's the whole thing. Directing like a photography-based spin-off and like a one-on-one fighting game is not the same discipline as developing a full-on RPG with open world elements. I mean, it's not rocket science with basic game design. Like I keep saying, partnerships can be formed, and that's why I also don't even mind like how like with Mystery Dungeon DX actually taking like the style of sets similar to the ones I had on DS and Game Boy Advance and making a modern spin on that, since it's like I keep saying it doesn't make sense to criticize it because I had elements because like, well, that doesn't make that's really weird. It'd be like me poking fun on, let's say, the next Warcraft or COD because they're going to be owned by Microsoft now, and I'll just deal with all that as it comes, man. But again, in regards to the main series, I'm actually really liking the experimentation they're doing, like with Let's Go. I mean, I don't know about the rumor about them doing similar title with Joda, but I guess we'll find out soon enough. And also getting very close to clearing the main quest on Red Diamond Shining Pearl. I also have plenty of time to go back. I'm still going to go back and complete the Pokedex next after I do that, guys, even after I pick up this game. And even with this one, falling in love with Hidden Camp, as you can might as well tell, I definitely fall in the love camp, man. As I've stated before, it's been well over 2 years now, almost 3 full years. It's time to let this go, man. Please. Anyways, it also, like, associate of mine, let's just call them KDX, where he claimed that Okami made him dislike it more, which doesn't make a lot of sense because how the two are very different in terms of design philosophy. Like how Okami is like ancient fantasy, very explicitly set in a time period that's been, and also that's legends and myths within it. Whereas Sword and Shield are more kind of urban fantasy, where it's one that could conceivably take place in our world, just with giant monsters, man. And also, one title is part of like the biggest multimedia series ever. The other holds several Guinness World Records for at least commercially successful Game of the Year award winner ever. It took several Guinness World Comic Series profitability, and also I had a response to him before, or about my favorite Pokemon alternatives you might have seen, and you might not have, you know. But I really think that's still something that's really worth trying to be more constructive about, but rather not reductive. I mean, I don't think the problem is the series hasn't changed that much since it began. I think the problem is that we collectively have and some of these changes are worthwhile. A lot of them, like getting into arguments online and acting like a depressed mess on Twitter, not so much. I mean, given how long I've been a fan of the series, I still remember when like rumors and leaks were just like things that were it's just done by word of mouth, and in some cases, in some of those training cards used to have. I'm old enough to remember like whole that brief time when Meryl and Snubbull called Pika Blue and Buru, who thank you very much, Tops, man. I mean, and also if you wanted to kind of talk to developers or other creators, you would have to basically send them by physical mail, and there's no given with no guarantee when or if you get a response, man. 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 Now, all can be done basically instantly. Hey, where you can definitely learn about what you like in moments, but the flip side of the coin is that also makes it much more difficult to parse and much greater consequences. And I really think that interview that the developers have IGN has been really good. I mean, about trying to make something they want to play as much as their fans would, and not really letting the more extreme individuals get to them, which I think is the right response to take, and not really even acknowledging other series' existence. And I mean, I only wish as others were had that kind of insights personally. Yeah. So, with launch day coming this Friday, hey, I have my pre-order slip and my Switch case and my Switch ready to go for that. I have enough space cleared out for the install. I mean, I am once again and calling for an end to the division in the fan base, because if anything, based on how a lot of the early reception is actually quite positive, that it does offer some engaging new twists on formula, and still retaining the idea of being easier to pick up and play but tough to really master, which I think is one constant that has thankfully not changed. I mean, which is a lot of first party Nintendo titles where they can be enjoyed by players of all potential ages and skill levels, and with this in mind, and it's kind of odd that this seems to be the series that has some of the a, most discourse behind it as of late. But I have done a very good job of not getting into it unless I have something I can personally add add to the conversation. It's the main reason why I didn't really get much into Pokemon Unite until it actually came out, and also in my case, I've often argued this kind of a state of mind is like the opposite of like the mimetic Sonic cycle, where that one is often one of hype and disappointment. This one is often one of concern, beyond belief come launch day. At least that's how I've seen it. I think that's also why the attempts to hack the game as often all as they aren't really sticking this time. And with that in mind, if you're still a skeptical, or you're well within your means to do so. However, if you're with me on this, yes, I will be willing to be with you on this one. So, you know where to find me. Hey me, come this Friday, guys. It's been monLegendsArceus will be coming very soon, and I know what path I'll be taking. That will be all for now, and I will see you all soon. Take care, everyone.